When there's nowhere to turn, help is as near as your phone.
You call and I will be there.
The Equalizer, premiering Wednesday, September 18th.
This is CBS.
Say hello.
Let go of me.
Who the hell are you?
Neighborhood watch.
Maybe you should mind your own business.
I've tried. But it turns out I'm really bad at it.
What's up with you, Mom? Out of nowhere, you quit your job last month and won't talk about it? You love traveling all over the world, being the big shot at your charity.
It's complicated.
This new side gig of yours is raising questions.
The company must be pretty desperate if they sent your skinny ass up here.
Well, they figured you'd kill anybody else. They want you back, Robin. You're the best they had.
I don't work for them anymore. I'm using my powers for good.
Why do I have a feeling this is not a social call?
I need your freaky ass superpowers.
1, 2, 3, hit it!
This world is just looking for a reason to put a young black girl on that side of the fence. Don't help them. When I can't sleep, it's not because of all the things I've done. It's because of all the people I couldn't save.
Do you really think she could help?
If anyone can, it's McCall. How many people are out there desperate with no way to turn?
They have some way to turn. To me. I'm the one you call when you can't call 911.
Hello all. I love doing some of these solo reviews. It's just cool to just sum up just stuff that is part of our childhoods, that's from a different period, that people have talked about, but not everyone has seen. So I am talking about the one, the only original Equalizer 80s TV show. You might have heard of it. You might have been wary of other shows that are heavily inspired by it. How can they not? Especially Person of Interest, Nowhere Man, The Pretender, just all kinds of shows which just kind of had a character just acting outside his usual modus operandi. There's plenty of other shows that got badass vigilantes and just other guys who bend the rules or work a secret underground. And it was created by a Canadian writer, co-created by Canadian co-writer Michael Sloan and Richard Linham. But Michael Sloan has since gone on to even do 3 different books, which I've also reviewed, that chronicle the character ever since the success of the Denzel Washington movies of the same name. And to those movies' credits, I think much like the TV show and Tom Cruise version of Mission Impossible, you can enjoy either because both are just so well grounded. You know, they just are that kind of thing where it's just very easy to bring to life, and you just feel just so blown away by it to where you're just like, wow, how did they come up with such a clever concept? It's just so solid. And I must applaud them. That they did a hell of a good job. And altogether, just what really makes this click, I think, is just how they just go about what they do. And the title theme by The Police former drummer Stuart Copeland is to die for. It's just dynamite. And yeah, I especially applaud just how they came up with this concept to begin with. Joel Surnow, who was the creator of La Femme Nikita TV show, also worked on it. He later created the show 24. And yeah, Edward Woodward is just, Sir Edward Woodward has since left us since 2009, but I think the reason this 4-season show gets talked about quite a lot is just because it's just very intriguing. Reruns of it occasionally show on Get TV, the Sony channel, but it was dark without being violent or gritty. But I liked how, again, it was a former CIA operative, kind of basically just being a gun for hire and just getting people out of predicaments they couldn't control, and just using his former spy and special forces skills. Now, he was different enough from the current movie version, but special in his own right. And I literally can't tell you what I like more. Obviously, I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan, and I consider Robert McCall one of his many great action tough guy roles, but this is as much Woodward's role in that he he comes across so many colorful characters, often former military and former lovers, and he takes down all kinds of people, serial killers, dirty cops, and it was never graphic. Robert Mitchum, that's good old screen legend, made a rare 2-part guest spot as a operative he was helping get out of trouble. And there's plenty of other actors on here before they were famous, and they're no slouches either. Keith Scarabajka, who's made a living being a voice actor, was good as his second in command, who kind of helps him out of certain retrievals, and it just was very suspenseful without being just dead on, just like in your face, blunt, or just too much. It wasn't ever trying to be a gratuitous show, even with the 80s standards in place. But I must applaud anybody who can come up with an original concept like this, because this was no easy deal. It got canceled for very dumb reasons, but it is what it is. I some stuff is out of control, but I felt like it wrapped up on a solid note without feeling like there was something still left in there. But yeah, it's just a very giving show, and I think you can also applaud it for keeping this much suspense while also maintaining that every character gets some downtime. It's not a shootout every minute. I can't think of a single episode that really dragged. There were some that were clearly outdated, but never anything that felt like an uninspired case of the week kind of deal. Just the right kind of edgy 80s TV show. And I must applaud them for also just deciding that, hey, you know the premise, what makes him tick. Now, how's he going to get out of this? And he had plenty of other cool recurring villains and other spy operatives while trying to repair a damaged relationship with his kids. And just kudos to Edward Woodward, a veteran of the screen, probably best known for working with Aussie filmmaker Bruce Beresford on a bunch of productions, some other Shakespearean type stuff, the original Wicker Man, and even just making other just rare appearances. He was survived by one of his sons, who's a indie actor and filmmaker, Peter Woodward. But in this role, you just essentially feel he's a gentle giant at times, while also being, again, just he makes due on his promise. There's never any just cheap, just one-liners, but he still has a bit of just, oh yeah, I'll show you. But he somehow naturalizes it without making it be, an unintentionally amusing slugfest. So, with further ado, let's move on to the current iteration, Robin McCall. Okay, you've heard the trailer now. Yep. This was a recreated new version, going on its 4th season now. Yeah, I was pretty cool with this. There's a lot of Law and Order producers and directors working on this, as well as other guys who do a lot of B action direct-to-video movies and stuff like shows like SWAT. Produced by John Davis, that's right, the producer of Predator and the new version of Shaft and plenty of other just blockbusters that he did with Joel Silver, like as well as just 3 O'Clock High and The Chamber. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff for Fox, and the shows, like some of his other TV productions, it's just comfort food. It's never going to make my top 10 list, but I got to give everybody a moment of its time. And this is very well casted, very surprisingly. Tori Kittles, who you might know from Sons of Anarchy, Olympus Has Fallen, Drive to Cost Concrete, and Miracle at St. Anna. He's another character actor who's risen through the ranks, and he did really good here. And he is basically assigned to the role as the cop who's not sure if he can trust this former CIA operative. Queen Latifah's in good shape here, and she's always been a very understated dramatic actress when it's time to play ball. And I'm tired of just so many of these damn toxic comments online. I'm like, guys, people do not have to be gorgeous or like extremely fit or your typical version of an action star. That's boring, and that's just why gatekeep? Why? We can have nice things. We do have nice things here on the show. And Randy Zisk, who's worked on all kinds of shows, including NYPD Blue, Bones, Rosalia and Isles, and plenty of other comedies and dramas for TV, is also one of the recurring producers and directors on here. And he was no slouch either. I can often tell if it's an episode by him. He just is really good with moving his cameras around. And altogether, I mean, the supporting cast, let's get to that. So Queen Latifah just lives with her aunt, played by Lorraine Toussaint, who you might know from Any Day Now, and plenty of other dramas, Dangerous Minds to be one. Still powerful, still got it. Her mentor was played by Chris Noth, Logan from Law & Order, Mr. Big from Sex and the City. Unfortunately, Mr. Noth was one of the other recent actors who had some unprofessional behind-the-scenes Me Too crap, and he was let go after the 2nd season. They had to write in his death. But that worked for the better of the show. They just had more enemies they added to the roster, and but the 2 main helpers that help out Robin, our new Equalizer, are Adam Goldberg, who you might know as the Jewish soldier in Saving Private Ryan, as well as other supporting stuff on just A Beautiful Mind and Deja Vu. He's been in all kinds of comedies, just always the go-to, just one of those New York actors you instantly recognize. And he's been typecast for a while as kind of the geek or hacker guy. In fact, he even did that on the Taken TV show, which I also recommend. But no slouch here. He was really awesome. He's going to town, and he just looks like he's enjoying himself. Melody, former USS sniper who owns a bar that acts as the secret base for this operation. See, that's a nice spin on it. That's not something I can say about any other reboot or remake. When any other show would have just been uninspired and relied on just the actors to carry this. They changed up this whole thing. They went their own way with it, and they got comfortable doing it, and they took off. What else can I say? That's cool. And yeah, Lisa LaPera, she's no slouch. She's one of those other Asian American actresses who's been on stage in various independent movies. You might have seen her in Brown Sugar, 21, one of the Fast and Furious films, and done voiceovers for stuff like Marmaduke. I liked her personally in Repo Men, even though that was a very small part. She also was in Cloverfield, but yeah, she's a cutie, but she has really grown as an actress. The more I've seen her, she's just very, very unpredictable. She can be very charming, or she can be very amusing. I personally recall her from episodes of ER and a hysterical episode of Psych. But yeah, she had some other recurring roles, including Dollhouse and Huff. But her best role, in my opinion, and I think for most people who might recognize her, would probably be on NCIS, where she played an agent who was bribed into kind of being a traitor to save her kid. It was a very tragic storyline, but she nailed it. She owned it, and she stayed busy. But this is a really good comeback role for her, And after Con Men, she just kept getting on various sitcoms. But again, she can do drama, and she's light here, but she plays ball, and she very much like the wingman on the original version of the show. She basically, Adam does all the hacking and occasionally might help out or do a retrieval, but Lisa's character, Mel, is essentially the second in command, doing some of the driving and other dangerous saboteuring and locating, putting gadgets on stuff. As for the visual style, it doesn't really stand out, but it does serve its purpose. It doesn't feel overstaged or limited. It's just right. It's still a very engaging look, and I can see why Sony signed off on this. Like, this is a good use of everybody's brand. It really is. And honestly, I will watch Queen Latifah in anything. She really has just grown so much as an actress. She was always a very respectable rap artist growing up, and just seeing her on that stage. And she is the queen for a reason, because she's everybody's grandmother. And what I mean by that is she literally gives it her all and puts everyone at ease. Like, you want to talk about de-stressing, this is practically what she's doing. And my bad, so this is not by Sony, this is actually by Universal, but good use of the format. And the seasons were very short. Literally season 1 and 2 aired in the same year. That's how short it was. But yeah, season 3 got on track, and season 4 will be right around the corner. But very simple. There were some interesting guest stars. I vaguely recall the Jada Pinkett episode where she played a former pal of Latifah's, who, Robin's, who has become a master thief. I personally dug the Kelly Rowland, who you might know from Destiny's Child. And you might say, Cam, you're so white, why do you listen to Destiny's Child? I didn't, but I admire Kelly Rowland's solo singing career. And she's a very smart businesswoman. But I admire people who get their dreams and they have them come to life. But that's not what I'm about. There were some other good guest stars too. Donald Logue, who you might have seen in various villain roles and sitcoms. He was good. And just everybody was just very, very intimidating. And when they appeared on screen, Brett Dalton, there's another guy. You might know him from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. His recent work on taking over the role of God of War. Well, not the main role, but one of the main key roles. And as well as just other hysterical voiceovers like Robot Chicken. He was recently on Chicago Fire. But Yeah, no, he's another cool cat, and he was intimidating, but I dig how they portray the crime underworld on here. It's not trying to have actors just play to the camera like other scripted shows we know and love or hate do too much of. But yeah, good. One of the producers, unfortunately, has recently passed. Their name was what? Who was that? Lindham. Yeah, Richard Lindham, the original co-creator of the original Equalizer. Wow. Okay, so he and Michael Sloan were both very involved, but that's cool. But so far, I've just seen people just talk trash about this without actually seeing it. I don't know about the trailers, but I went in blind and I was very, just very taken back by it. I thought it cut the mustard. Now, one of the other key directors on here is Benny Boom, who is best known for directing the Tupac Shakur movie All Eyes on Me, as well as, again, various episodes of All American, Black Lightning, and the new Magnum PI, which is not a show I can recommend. He's got a good visual style. But altogether, I mean, it's not over-edited. It's not a music video style. It's just right. Just comfort food. I understand why it was on at the same nights as SEAL Team or SWAT. It's just that same kind of Sunday crowd. But again, you know, they don't all have to be Emmy winning. They can all be straightforward. Never do I watch the show and I feel like it's running out of steam, nor do I feel like it's just sending false messages or brainwashing. And, you know, again, she's a vigilante, so it's not, there's no propaganda. And, you know, again, if you're just looking for something just very easy that, again, I mean, other shows that essentially were kind of like The Equalizer, like Prison Break or Burn Notice, it's that same kind of feel. It's just getting the job done, slam, bang, frills. And kudos to them for deciding to be that gripping and going their own way, and you know, it's not going to be for everybody, but you know, I have seen so much worse. I can't say, hey, they didn't have a vision, they weren't comfortable doing their own thing, they were in it just for the money. No, they knew exactly what they were doing when they signed up, and I applaud them. You know, not everybody has to be a martial artist. Not everybody has to be just some, you know, just nonstop, you know, over stylized music video guy. And those have their purpose too. Yeah, you know, it just a bunch of people who have been working for years and they're doing their own twist on the thing. I can watch an episode without being offended or feeling like my time has been stolen, or like, again, they had a vision. And never do I feel like, hey, these guys made shit up and they suck, they're not organized, they're just full of it. No, they knew what they were making. And I definitely feel like it's a little more for an NCIS kind of crowd, but that's just a sign of the times. You know, NCIS is awesome. It's groundbreaking, and it's not my personal favorite show, but it serves its purpose. There's a reason it's been on for 20 years. And this, I feel like they could do this up to season 6, maybe 7. Let it go from there. And let Latifah keep giving her dramatic performance in this version of the character. Now, personally, I will say the best version of the character is the Denzel Washington movies, which is not something I can say every day, but I love director Antoine Fuqua's gritty style and Richard Wink's scripting on that. Now, obviously, most will probably side with the 80s show, and that's fair. This is all apples and oranges, which is more than I can say about which is your favorite version of The Fugitive or Mission Impossible. You know, it just, that gets too over the top, and most of the time people just get into shouting matches over that. You know, this doesn't have to be what is my favorite version of Batman or Robin Hood, you know, or Sherlock Holmes. It can all be enjoyed, and in this case, I'm giving applause to both versions of the show. It's the same formula, just done a little different each time. You know, the 80s show was more suspenseful and mixed in with some of the same kind of grit that you saw in shows that kind of came out after Miami Vice and St. Elsewhere. The movies were their own stylized thing, kind of an answer to the Bourne Identity and new James Bond movies, and I applauded them for their own kind of suspense and gritty villains. Wasn't for everyone, but I'll take them any day over Taken, and I consider it a worthy foe to the John Wick kind of movies, except John Wick has a soul, but Equalizer has heart. Think about that long and hard. This show, I applaud it for not coming out simultaneously with the new movies. The only thing missing is I'd like to see some other kind of tough gal chick on here, like maybe Taraji P. Henson. Maybe she could show up as a sister of Robin, helping her out of a jam. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, it just the new show is just more of a just kind of retrieve the person, you know, kind of more like the transporter. Just get them out and then get home. And occasionally she's got to help her family out of a jam, but it's definitely just more for the SWAT and NCIS crowd. Like I say, you'll know when you see it. You'll get what I mean by that, just based on the visual style and just how it's edited together, and that's okay. It serves a purpose. And also, I just applaud anybody who can do their own take on something without just pissing everybody off. And it's not going to make a top show of the year, but it's still, I watch it anytime it's on. It gets the job done. And applaud all three versions. That they knew, again, how to assemble a solid cast and create some suspense and just take off. So thank you for listening all. If you want to reach us on the web, please don't hesitate. Jacked Up Review Show is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are taking suggestions. Please keep forwarding them to us. Leave us a review and tell us what we sucked or what we really brought you together and blew your mind, telling you about awesome pop culture. Thank you, and good night.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small-town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a Jacked Up